So, don't hit rewind. It's always a good time with this trans man. It's always a good time with Zion.
Alright, y'all. So, I'm waiting for my food. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna see how fast I can say this story time real quick. It's not a whole lot to say, but I want to be done by the time they text me that they're approaching so I can go and open the door, because my cousin is sleeping, my baby cousin. And if they ring that doorbell, there's a better chance of her waking up versus just the little bell sound that be going off when the door open, because we got that fucking alarm system, you know. Snowman shield in this bitch, or whatever the fuck you call it. But yeah, so as y'all can see from the title of the video, I'm gonna tell y'all about when I got outed to a bunch of gang members that I was trans, right? So I dated this girl, this trans girl. I dated a few trans girls in New York, and one of them used to sit in this park all the time that was like around the block from my apartment. And it was a small park, so it was easy if someone was doing a lot of shit, it was easy to spot them. And that's what she was doing, bringing a lot of attention to herself, because she'd be sitting there blasting City Girls, you know, that kind of music and shit, throwing ass on the bench, on the floor, on the tree, just throwing ass everywhere. All this, and she'd be wearing clothes like she was going out to the fucking club, like she was about to hit up SOBs or something, you feel me? Like, dresses, you know, not far from the coochie type shit, like you know, titties out, all that. So when she throwing ass and all that, yeah, the dress was riding up, you seeing butt cheeks and all this shit, and yeah, so it was bringing a lot of attention. There was a couple of other trans people that used to hang out in the park. We was cool with them. A couple of gay dudes, cool with them. Then there was this lady, I'm gonna call her Miss Janet, right? She lived across the street, right across the street from the park, right? And then on the other side of the park was all these stores and shit, and that's where the gang members was at. Because there would be cis men coming through the park trying to talk to my girl and all this shit. Because she was drunk. That's what they wanted. They wanted a girl that was acting like that. Because, like, oh, she doing all this. Maybe I could take her home and, like, get her number. Da-da-dee-da-da-do, you know? So, yeah. So the gang members was across. And they used to be standing there just sitting there talking. Or they'd be sitting there playing chess. Or some kind of card game, something. And then, or selling crack, too. One of the trans girls used to buy crack from them all the time. She tried to be discreet about it, but we all know what the fuck she was doing. Like, it was mad obvious. So, right? So they started catching on to my girl, right? They didn't know she was trans yet. Because she passed 100%. My ex passed 100%. I keep saying my girl, but I'm thinking, like, back to that time. That's my ex. That is my ex, but it's just, okay. So they kept checking out, like, who this girl dressing like that, with, you know, hair done, makeup done, nails done, body tea, you know, all that, right? So, but Miss Janet was not having the same reaction. Miss Janet, they called her like the mother of the park, right? They called her the mother of the park because she was like 50-some years old. She was one of the OGs. She was not playing that shit. She didn't like, she thought that my ex acting like that made it look like a fat hoe, all that type of shit. She was not fucking with none of that. And she kept trying to talk to her about it and trying to get her daughter to talk to her about it, because her daughter wasn't with that shit either, right? But Miss Janet was also a little bit messy. And my ex was a very open person. She did not hide her transness, like, which I don't think is a bad thing. I just think you gotta be careful where you do that at, because you never fucking know. You never fucking know, because then some shit like this might happen. Miss Janet was cool with the gang members, which was crazy to me, because they beat up the nigga she was with at the time because he hadn't paid back some money for the drugs. And while, you know, I understand, you know, paying the money back, they beat this nigga down, like, outside in the park, right there in the park, beat him down, like, to the point where he was unconscious, having seizures and all this shit, and they had to rush him to the hospital. And the dude I talked about in my last story that was hitting on my girl, the Hispanic dude, Poppy, right? They beat his ass too. He didn't come to the park for like 3 months because of that shit. But Miss Janet was cool with him, and she used to go and cross. Like, I would come outside when my ex would try and drag me outside, and she was already out there. I would come. First thing I see is Miss Janet chopping it up with the gang members across the street. I don't know what that shit was about. how she came to know them. I mean, she had been living there for years. I was new to the area, so whatever the fuck went on before I went there is what went on. So we caught wind of all that, but my ex wasn't really thinking twice about it. I don't think she was thinking that Miss Jenny was gonna go and tell her T, cause she was also trying to get to know my ex, take her under her wing. Cause like I said, she ain't like the way she was behaving. She thought it was inappropriate. She thought it wasn't ladylike, that kind of shit. So she wanted to like kind of make her like into her daughter in a sense, and wanted to try to see she could act differently, dress differently. I'm like, y'all have fun with that. She gonna do what the fuck she wanna do. Like, she don't care. There'll be times where she be acting like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try not to dress. And that's not even always necessarily the way you dressing. Cause I seen plenty of bad bitches in the club, but it's the way you carry yourself. That's the thing. And when you got a man, ain't no reason you acting like that to the point where all the niggas in the park can see your ass and all this. That's where I drew the line. So I wasn't fully against what Miss Janet was on about. I wasn't fully against it. So she would invite her over to her crib and shit, and she was getting to know her little by little, like her life story, how she came from down south, came up here, started a new life so she could be openly trans and comfortable, get her surgeries done. So, little side note about Miss Janet. She used to be married to this nigga who ended up coming out as gay. So she had some kind of like resentment towards him for that, and also towards one of her kids, because one of her daughters was a stud. Not the one that ended up being cool with my ex, but a different one. She had like 3 kids, I think, something like that. So she took that out. Like, she would go and hang out with the other LGBTQ people at the park, but deep down inside, she had something going on because of that situation from her previous marriage, right? So like I feel like I said this already, my fault if I did, but my ex is an open book. You're gonna know a lot about her within a couple of hours of being around her. So that's exactly what happened. They knew she was trans, they knew about all the surgery she done had, hormones, you name it, the voice shit, all that. The voice surgery, like they knew all her teeth, right? So Miss Janet, she liked to talk. Like I was saying, she would be across the street. She was cool with the gang members and shit. She would go over and talk to them sometimes. She went and told them this shit because they kept asking about my ex. Who's that girl that's always dancing, wearing them fine ass outfits and shit? Like, who is that? She told them, oh yeah, I never gave my ex a fake name. I just realized that I've been saying my ex man. That's Brittany. I don't know. I'm just calling Brittany. Yeah, that's Brittany. Like I've been having her hanging around my crib and shit like that. We took her out the other night. We did her makeup, all this shit. We trying to teach her how we think she should be acting. And they hearing her, but they ain't really caring about none of that. They focus on hold on, Paul. She trans? Cause you know how it be. Like, and a lot of times I notice like it's kind of like how do I put it? People act like trans people can't be attractive or whatever, and they're like they'll hit you with that little backhanded shit like, oh, you real pretty for a trans girl, you real cute for a trans guy, shit like that. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? What the hell? Like that shit used to irk me, but we didn't know that they knew yet. They were starting to catch on, and the word started spreading around the park. Cause like I said, it wasn't that big of a park. Hella niggas in there, but small ass park. And one night, shit, I'm over here missing shit. Cause that's how she got outed to them. But in turn, I got outed too, because she obviously was talking about her man. She's like, yeah, I'm trans, my man's trans. She was real heavy on always telling people, oh yeah, T for T. Da. She would be on TikTok posting that shit all the time. When she would post that shit, it just said T for T, trans man with a trans woman. Like, she was really down for that shit, because she only really date when it comes to like men. As far as I'm concerned, only trans men, like no cis men, just straight. Like, I don't say just straight trans men, but when I say that, I mean just only trans men. So yeah, she brought me up like, yeah, Aiden's my boyfriend. Da 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 da. He's trans too. I'm gonna go with him to all his surgeries and consultations. What she used to say. She did go to one of my consultations, but yeah, she's not gonna be at none of my surgeries. But she did go to my first consultation for my top surgery, and you know, I be trying to help him out because a lot of people be trying to say he's a stud and shit like that, but he a trans man. Like, she used to push that shit because motherfuckers, random people would be like, yo, you with a stud now? Da, da, da. Like, that was the narrative. So she was always trying to correct people. So she told Miss Janet that shit too. Everything she told Miss Janet would go over and tell these niggas and the other people in the park that she knew. But the main concern was the gang people. Because one night, this might have been, ended up being one of my last nights in the park. My ex decided she was going to keep playing games and shit and going back to the park and hanging out. But after this shit, I was done. Some of the gang members came and sat like across from us type shit. And as soon as they sat down, I was like, yo, we gotta go. We gotta be out. And it's crazy because Miss Janet was trying to say the same thing. But I'm like, the only reason why we even gotta leave right now is because of you. Because you over here telling our business and shit. And now granted, if my ex hadn't told her nothing, she wouldn't have known nothing either. Like, I mean, if anything, people would have just still been calling me a stud more than likely, but like, I was like, at the same time, you made it seem like you trying to take her under your wing and, you know, guide her in a sense, and you over here saying shit behind her back, and this how she gotta find out you saying this shit. They sitting right across from us, and my ex, bless her heart, her legs is the way she's sitting. Legs is not, you know, they like this, adjacent. You know, I feel like that's the right word. You know, ajar. I feel like I'm running out of my vocabulary. All fucked right now. But it was like, you know, like this, not like this, but like this, right? So the guys are looking. It was dark as hell outside, but even though there was a couple of lights from the stores and shit, I don't think the park had lights for real, but it was like the lights around the block or that area. So they looking, staring real hard and shit, and I see their eyes start going down like this. I'm looking at them like, the fuck is you looking at? Fuck is you trying to look in between her legs for? And she not paying them no mind, because she might have, I don't know if she was smoking or what, but she just be paying attention. I'm overly observant. We like polar opposites with that shit. I peeped that shit. As soon as they sat down, I knew they were gonna say something. And they go straight up like, yo, what's your name? So she tell them her name. Yeah, my name's Brittany. Yeah, I live around the, you know, she used to just say too much fucking information. They don't even know where the fuck you live at. Talking about I live down the street over there. Yeah, I just be out here. I be hanging out with Miss Janet and all the other people, she said. And like, oh, word? And then they're like, oh, that's your man? Like, yeah, that's my man. Then they're like, oh, what you got in between your legs? Let me repeat that again. What you got in between your legs? That's what they said, straight up. I was like, it's time to go. And it's crazy. It's still crazy to me. Miss Janet was like, yeah, y'all should go. Y'all should leave right now. This is not safe for y'all. How the fuck you had some responsibility. You need to take some accountability for putting us in this situation. Because they trying to sit here and figure out what she got between her legs. They, you know, and she like, oh, you don't got to worry about what's in between my legs. Da, 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 da. Then they kept asking. So she come right there and said, yo, I got a pussy. Yes, I do. And I was like, okay. Because it was just too much. My anxiety was like through the roof. It was just such an awkward encounter. And I was scared because my ex ain't got no kind of filter, no nothing. I'm not saying you can't stand up for yourself or nothing, but she real reckless when she be talking. She will say any and everything and not give two flying fucks about it. And all I'm saying is, there's a time and a place for that shit. And when there's two niggas that may or may not have a gun or something on them, you don't need to be running your mouth like that. It's not worth your life. It's not worth you ended up in the hospital. You already saw what they did to other people right here in this very park. We don't need to be doing this. It's getting late. Let's go. She wasn't fucking hearing me. Because as usual, she would have fucking listened. So, I'm over here praying to God, like, please, 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 let us get out of here alive. Please. Please. I didn't want them knowing that about, because I didn't even want her to go back out there after that. But could I stop her from going out there? No. Cause she a grown ass woman. She gonna do what the fuck she wanted to do. It ain't matter what the fuck I had to say about nothing. Like, it was so awkward. Cause I was like, they started eyeing me a little bit. I'm like, nah, let's go. I'm not doing this. And finally, she fucking got up. Cause she was a little tipsy too. And she be even more reckless at the mouth when she tipsy. So Miss Janet walked us to the corner like, yeah, you gotta stay away from those niggas. The niggas that you was talking about us to. Okay, that's weird. That's what I'm saying. Like, not that she was my friend, but you know, she could easily have been in that video I made about weird friends. Cause what kind of timing are you on? Like, I don't understand. I thought she was coming from a good place. You know, a good place in her heart. I was chilling in her apartment and everything. Like, that shit was crazy. I didn't come out there after that. I used to be scared just to walk by the store when I actually needed to get shit. I used to cross and go over. Like, if I could find it in any other store, I would. Because I didn't feel comfortable. Like, now they know you trans. They know I'm trans. You might catch them on a bad day. They didn't just have to do nothing tonight. They were just asking you a bunch of questions that they had no business asking. But you don't know what the fuck gonna happen next time. And I wasn't about to take that chance. So that was the last time I sat in that park, for real. I never sat in that park again. If I was walking with her, we'd walk through that bitch real fast. But if I was walking by myself, there was a block on this side, on the other side of the highway, a block on this side. I would be hauling ass, getting past that area every fucking time. So that's one good thing. I mean, there's several good things about us not being together no more, or being friends either. But that's one thing. I do not miss being over there at all. Even though she moved and everything. Just that borough. Like, what the fuck? That's a place. If you don't have to be there, don't go there. If you don't need to be in the Bronx, don't go. That's how I feel about it, because I had a lot of crazy ass experiences being over there. Like, if that's where you live at, and that's where you listen, with all due respect, that's not a place I would be unless I absolutely have to be. Like, in the future, if I was to get housing over there, I'll live wherever I get put at, because I was there. I know how to maneuver. It wasn't my most favorite thing in the world, but I know how to maneuver. But I'll be working towards getting to a different borough, that's for sure. But yeah, that's how that was. That's how I got outed to a bunch of gay members, you know. Had a little snake trying to be cool with us. Chilling on her couch and shit when I got into a fight with my ex. Watching Netflix, her giving me food and saying if your ex go with that nigga tonight, you could stay here. When I really just needed some support, she was there for me at certain times just to be doing this shit. Like, you don't go telling other people, especially something like that. Especially the people like that. You know what they're capable of and seeing what they've done, and you go and put us in a predicament like that. Because while I wish my ex had said nothing, she was getting to the point, because she don't got her parents. So she felt like I was feeling like this lady was trying to be like a mother figure to her. So she confided in her and she trusted her because she didn't have a whole lot of people she could trust. So I understand her just telling her life story to her and one of her daughters. But it was just an unfortunate person to tell that shit to. So I'm like, moral of the story is just be careful who you tell your tea to. Even when somebody come around like, yeah, I'm trying to help you out. I want to be, you know. You never fucking know what's behind that fucking face and shit. Like, you feel me? There's a lot of shit beneath the surface type shit. And you know, it was a scary like experience. And because of some other shit, she stopped fucking with all of them. I'm gonna have to add that to a different video though. I don't know which video that could be in, but I'm gonna figure it out. Why she? Cause that made me stop fucking with I almost said her name, Lord, with Miss Janet. But I'll tell y'all in the future why cause we was not on the same page when it came to a lot of shit. It was crazy. Like, when she was done with something, that's when she expected me to be done with it too, even if I wasn't. It was either be I wasn't done and she was gonna force me to be done, or I was been done and then she finally get to the point where she done too. It was never when I'm done that she, you know, and I feel like it's something we should both be done with, that she gonna be like, oh, okay. If she don't feel like she need to be done with that shit or that person, she not gonna do it. Because after all that, She was still hanging around Miss Janet. I almost said her name again. I gotta end this video before I accidentally say the shit. But yeah, that's the story.